In 2005, you could actually experience most of Revenge of the Sith 2 weeks before the movie released. That is because the official video game came out before the film, and it basically told the entire story. Revenge of the Sith premiered on May 19th, 2005, but the official video game released 2 weeks earlier on May 5th for PS2, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, and the Nintendo DS. Hayden Christensen and the stunt coordinator for the prequels, Nick Gillard, even helped with the lightsaber combat part of the game. This game wasn't just a side story though. This game literally followed the plot of the film. The game features 17 levels, where you play as both Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The story begins immediately after Obi-Wan and Anakin land in the hangar bay of the Invisible Hand to rescue the Chancellor. The first 6 levels take place here, including one level where you play as Anakin and defeat Count Dooku. The next 3 levels take place on Utapau, where you play as Obi-Wan investigating the planet and battling the Separatist army, before ultimately confronting General Grievous and of course defeating him. You are then taken back to Coruscant, where as Anakin Skywalker you intervene to save the Chancellor from Mace Windu as you fight and defeat him.
The time has come. Execute Order 66.
That's right, it is that time. You march on the Jedi Temple as Anakin Skywalker over the next 2 levels, murdering the traitorous Jedi and activating the Jedi Temple beacon to lure survivors to return, where they will meet their fate. This leads to a boss battle against Sera Keto, Sindralig's best pupil, which leads to an even bigger boss battle against the man himself. Shout out to Nick Gillard. You are then transported back to Utapau. As Order 66 descends on Obi-Wan, you must battle both the Separatist army and your own clone troopers as you search for an escape. Mustafar. You are approaching the end now, as Anakin travels to the planet tasked with eliminating the remaining Separatist leaders. Meanwhile, simultaneously, the next level is played as Obi-Wan, where you team up with Yoda to investigate the Jedi Temple and alter the beacon's message, warning surviving Jedi to stay away. It all comes to a head in level 16, where as Obi-Wan you must defeat your former apprentice. But remember how I said there were 17 levels? That's because in the PS2 and Xbox versions, there was an additional level featuring an alternate ending. It plays out just like level 16, except this time you play as Anakin Skywalker, and your objective is to defeat your old master. Now I'm sure many of you have seen that final cutscene, but if you haven't, take a look. It's pretty legendary.
Don't try it.
Excellent work, my apprentice. There are none left to oppose us. The galaxy is ours now. Your new weapon, Darth Vader.
No, the galaxy belongs to me.
So as you can see, the game covers a huge portion of the story from Revenge of the Sith. But what makes this even more interesting is that the developers didn't just recreate these moments through gameplay. They actually integrated over 12 minutes of footage from the film itself as cutscenes throughout the game. This means players weren't just playing the story, they were watching parts of the movie before it even released in theaters. You see Anakin and Obi-Wan land aboard the Invisible Hand before Grievous sees them making their way through the ship. They find the Chancellor before Count Dooku springs his trap and arrives as their battle begins. Palpatine praises Anakin for what he did, as you see Dooku's lifeless body in the background, before the Chancellor urges Anakin to leave Obi-Wan. After being caught in the ray shield, Anakin, Obi-Wan and Palpatine are presented to Grievous, where he is almost caught before he shatters the window and escapes using an escape pod. Obi-Wan then embarks on a mission as him and Anakin share a goodbye with a sense of finality. The Jedi Master arrives on Utapau, where he greets General Grievous as his Magna Guards advance on him. The chase scene follows, with Obi-Wan on his Varactyl, pursuing Grievous on his wheelbike. Back on Coruscant, you see Mace Windu on the verge of killing Palpatine as Anakin intervenes, saving the Chancellor. After defeating Mace, the reality of what he has just done hits Anakin, with Palpatine praising him. The newly christened Lord Vader is given instructions by his new master. All of the Jedi, including his friend Obi-Wan, are traitors. You see him march on the Jedi Temple, before Palpatine issues Order 66 as you see it affect Obi-Wan on Utapau 2. Obi-Wan uses Grievous's ship to escape Utapau. As he runs on the platform, you can see the deceased body of the general. Obi-Wan contacts Bail Organa as the scale of Order 66 unfolds. The ending is near, as Anakin travels to Mustafar to put an end to the Separatist leadership, which he confirms to Sidious via hologram. Obi-Wan meets with Bail Organa and Yoda, where they share their experiences and talk about the Jedi Temple's beacon, with Obi-Wan urging Yoda that they have to change it to save any survivors. Confirming his worst fears, Obi-Wan checks the security recordings at the temple, where he sees his former apprentice bowing before Darth Sidious. The showdown on Mustafar is upon us, as you see a small portion of Anakin and Obi-Wan's dialogue before the greatest choreographed duel in cinematic history begins. Vader rises on the table as his master asks if he can hear him. Finishing with hope, Obi-Wan delivers baby Luke to Owen and Beru Lars on Tatooine. But while the game covers a huge portion of the film, it doesn't include everything. Because the game focuses heavily on action and lightsaber combat, several parts of the film weren't included. This isn't a criticism of the game, it simply highlights what was and wasn't spoiled if you played this in the 2 weeks before the movie released. Palpatine's slow manipulation of Anakin is mostly absent, as is the rapidly changing state of Padme and Anakin's relationship. In fact, Padme is almost entirely absent from the game altogether, besides her ship being in the background on Mustafar and an attempt at covering her in a cutscene. Anakin does quickly mention Obi-Wan turning her against him during their fights, but that could be missed if you're focusing on the combat.
You turned Padme against me.
Another aspect that is glossed over is the scale of Order 66. While Bail Organa tells Obi-Wan it appears Order 66 happened across the galaxy, we don't see those brutal Jedi deaths we get in the film. Of course, assumptions can be made based on what happens in the Jedi Temple as well as on Utapau with Obi-Wan, but I know when I was playing this game as a child, I was so immersed in it, I wasn't even thinking about the possibilities of what Order 66 looked like for the whole galaxy. The incredible duel between Yoda and Sidious isn't included, however that would have made for some amazing gameplay. There is however a bonus mission where you can play as Yoda in the Jedi Temple where you have to outlast waves of clone troopers, and it is extremely fun. In some cases, the game also changed details of the story. Often, this was done for at least one of two reasons. Either to avoid spoiling key moments from the film, or simply to extend the gameplay. A major one is covering Padme's unconscious body lying on Mustafar as Anakin and Obi-Wan are arguing, completely removing her from the scene. If audiences had seen that before the film released, the fan theories on the old Star Wars forums would have been crazy. 3 of the main characters' deaths were altered to extend the fight for gameplay purposes, and they also end up being a bit less gruesome. Beginning with Count Dooku, his death was made to be less violent with him being stabbed by Anakin. This of course is a lot less brutal than the removing of his hands before decapitating him. In a couple of the cutscenes from the film that follow, if you were to pause them, you would be able to make out a missing head and a pair of missing hands. Obi-Wan's showdown with General Grievous is expanded as you experience more of the Utapau environment. It finishes with Obi-Wan stabbing the general as electricity radiates around his body before he collapses. This of course pales in comparison to Grievous's internal organs being shot before he bursts into flames through his eyes. Mace Windu's death is changed as well, so instead of Anakin cutting off his hand, they end up locking blades for their ensuing battle. They battle around and below the Chancellor's office, before ending up back in there, where Anakin impales and kicks the Jedi Master out the window. See what I did there? You also see some deleted scenes from the film used as a method to extend gameplay. This is highlighted by Anakin and Obi-Wan cutting a hole in the floor on the invisible hand to escape surrounding battle droids and then proceed to navigate the cruiser's generator room. Concept art and even incomplete footage of this exists, so it was nice to see the game developers use this. You see buzz droids in both the film and the game, just in different capacities. In the film, they are used to dismantle Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, bringing about the demise of R4. The game, however, explores their functionality against Jedi on foot. Different droids are also used that we don't see in the film at all, such as the variety of grapple droids and the air battle droids. After Obi-Wan defeats Anakin on Mustafar in the game, you don't hear the dialogue between the two before Anakin begins to burn. Obi-Wan just picks up his saber and leaves him. This is a really good decision in my opinion. As amazing as the game is, no amount of technology could hope to recreate the emotions of that scene as well as Hayden and Ewan did in the film. Just jumping into the alternate ending very quickly, my nerd brain noticed the clone troopers escorting the Emperor were Obi-Wan's 212th Battalion, rather than the Imperial shock troopers you see in the film. Finishing with Order 66, there were a few differences. The first being Anakin immediately killing Jocasta Nu when he entered the temple. This of course didn't happen in the film, and her canon death happened less than a year later at the hands of Darth Vader outside the Jedi Temple. You are later introduced to Sindralig's favourite pupil, Sarah Keto, before fighting the Battlemaster himself. Sarah Keto doesn't make an appearance at all in the film, however you briefly see Sindralig and a couple apprentices fighting Anakin on the security hologram Obi-Wan watches. Finishing this part of the video with my favourite thing they included that we didn't see in the film, which may also leave you questioning my mental state, is, as part of the gameplay, Anakin develops a move where he will pick up his enemy and stab them through the throat. I'm assuming this is a nod to that hologram scene, which was originally supposed to be larger and a full scene, rather than a smaller cropped hologram. The reason that was done is because that scene was so violent, George Lucas couldn't put it in the film. Nick Gillard had choreographed Anakin picking up a Jedi and stabbing her in the throat, as he battled Sindralig and other Jedi. This is all from the man himself in a vlog done by Star Wars Theory.
Why didn't we get any scenes of Hayden in the temple? Yeah, I don't mean more of that. I just mean like a little more of like, you know, fighting Sindralig.
Too violent. We did that fight the night before in his garage. And,
The little hologram thing.
and I really wanted it to be violent, like really violent. And when we showed it to George, he felt it was too violent. And so he shrank it. It wasn't originally going to be that little hologram.
No way!
Yeah, so he said the only way I could show it is if I shrink it right down so you can't really see it, and we'll do it to affect it. But yeah, it was horrible. Stabbed her right through the throat and out the ribs. Yeah. And held on to the other one as he did.
I saw that, yeah.
Just a little nerdy note to cap this part off, in the cutscene prior to the duel between Anakin, Obi-Wan and Count Dooku, we get this additional line from the Count that you don't hear in the film.
Just because there are two of you, do not assume you have the advantage.
So, while the game closely follows the story of Revenge of the Sith, several details were changed or expanded to better suit the gameplay experience. New characters were introduced, certain moments were extended into full levels, and players were given the chance to see an alternate version of the story. But regardless of those changes, one thing about the game remains pretty incredible, because when the Revenge of the Sith video game released on May 5th, 2005, players were able to experience huge moments from the story before the film had even reached theaters. The death of Count Dooku, the fall of Anakin Skywalker, Order 66, and the final duel on Mustafar. All of it was playable 2 weeks before audiences sat down to watch the movie, which makes the release of the Revenge of the Sith video game one of the most fascinating and unusual moments in Star Wars gaming history. Let me know in the comments if you guys have played this game. I'm really interested if anyone watching this had played it in the 2 weeks before the film released. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you, always.